Have you ever stopped to think about how much your constant availability may be hindering your progress? Being always available, saying yes to everything and everyone may seem like a virtue, but in practice, it's a silent trap. When you're always there, ready to solve problems, help out or give of yourself, people start to take you for granted. That's when your value begins to diminish. But when you change that, when you stop being always available, something powerful happens. People start to see you differently. Respect, interest, and even admiration emerge. In this video, you'll understand why stepping back a little, setting boundaries, and preserving your energy can be the key to completely transforming your relationships, your career, and your own perception of yourself. Get ready to see the power of not always being present. Number 1. What it means to be unavailable. Being unavailable does not mean being arrogant, cold, or indifferent to people. It means, first and foremost, knowing how to position yourself. It means understanding that your energy, time, and attention are limited and valuable resources, and that they need to be used wisely. When we talk about not being available, we are referring to the ability to say no when necessary, to not put yourself in every situation as a problem solver or someone who needs to please everyone. It is refusing invitations, conversations, or obligations that add nothing to your life. It is freeing yourself from the obligation to respond immediately, to always be online, to justify yourself all the time. Being less available means learning to set firm boundaries without guilt. And this has nothing to do with cutting ties or turning your back on others, but rather with taking control of your own life. Often, constant availability is the result of an unconscious need for acceptance. We want to be loved, valued, recognized. So we say yes to everything in the hope of being seen as indispensable, but the effect is usually the opposite. The more available we are, the less we are valued. People start to expect you to always be there, always ready, without even saying thank you. By no longer being constantly available, you send a clear message: my time is valuable. And from there, everything changes, including the way you see yourself. Number 2, the effects of availability overload. Availability overload is a silent poison that saps your energy, focus, and identity. When you're always available, always ready to respond to messages, help someone, or solve problems that aren't even yours, you put yourself in a position of constant emotional vigilance. And that takes a heavy toll. Your mind never rests, your body is on alert, and fatigue becomes existential rather than physical. Gradually, you start to feel exhausted, with no time for yourself, no space to reflect on your own goals. Your life becomes a schedule set by others. And you know what's worse? Often, this excessive availability isn't even recognized. People start to see it as an obligation, not generosity. Help becomes a demand. Favors become duties. You give yourself up to please others, and in return, you receive more demands, more pressure, and less gratitude. It's a toxic cycle. The more you give of yourself without limits, the more others expect you to sacrifice. Over-availability also affects your productivity. Being constantly interrupted, whether by messages, calls, or favors, fragments your focus and prevents you from entering deep states of concentration. This delays your projects, undermines your dreams, and traps you in a reactive routine. Instead of acting with purpose, you spend your time putting out fires. Breaking out of this requires courage. It requires recognizing that your peace is worth more than any immediate response, and that if you continue to give your all to everything and everyone, in the end, you will be the one left empty. Number 3. The power of silence and absence. Silence and absence have a transformative power that few people understand. In a world where everyone wants to be seen, heard, and noticed all the time, choosing to withdraw, even momentarily, is an act of strength. When you stop explaining yourself all the time, justifying every step, responding immediately to everything, you create a space that naturally attracts respect. Silence is not weakness. It is a form of mastery. It shows self-control, maturity, and confidence. People who can't stand silence are usually afraid to face themselves, so they live in a constant search for approval and distraction. But when you are silent, you hear yourself. And when you step away, you see yourself more clearly. Absence also teaches. It teaches others that you won't always be there, available as if you were a disposable piece. It teaches them that your time is valuable and that your presence is a privilege, not an obligation. Great leaders, teachers, and thinkers have understood this. Often, the real impact lies in not reacting, in not being there, in not saying anything. Because it is in this space that others begin to reflect, to miss you, to realize your value. Absence creates scarcity, and scarcity creates desire. When you are always present, always available, you are confused with the ordinary. But when you withdraw, even for a while, you become rare, and everything that is rare is valued. Learning to use silence and absence as tools of respect and balance is one of the most powerful ways to strengthen your presence without saying a single word. Number 4, the impact on personal relationships. When you stop being always available, the dynamics of your personal relationships change dramatically, and usually for the better. People start to see you differently because scarcity creates value. When you are always there, responding promptly, helping without hesitation, accepting invitations and requests even when you are tired, you end up being taken for granted as someone who has nothing better to do. This isn't mean-spirited. On their part, it's human behavior. Anything that is too abundant ends up being undervalued, but the moment you start setting boundaries and prioritizing yourself, something changes. You begin to inspire respect. The people who truly value you will understand this new attitude and even admire it. Those who benefited from your excessive availability may drift away, and that's okay. Healthy relationships are not based on demands, but on balance. When you put yourself first, you attract people who also know how to value themselves. Friendships become more mature. Romantic relationships gain more respect and depth, and even family ties become more balanced. The problem is that many people are afraid of losing connections if they start saying no. But what you lose by giving yourself up is much more serious. You lose yourself. By regaining your autonomy, you don't become cold, but selective. And it is this selectivity that filters out what is really worth keeping around. After all, those who truly love you will stay close, even when you're not always available. Number 5, transformation in the workplace. In the workplace, not always being available can be a game changer for your career. Many people believe that saying yes to everything is the key to getting promoted or recognized. But in practice, this often leads to overload, lack of focus, and loss of authority. When you're always accessible, accepting tasks that are not yours, interrupting your own work to help others, or responding immediately to every email or message, you convey the image of someone who does not have clear priorities, and worse, someone who can be taken advantage of. On the other hand, when you start to consciously manage your availability, you establish a new level of professional respect. Your colleagues and superiors come to understand that your time is organized, that your deliverables are high quality, and that you work with focus. This isn't selfishness, it's strategy. Learning to say no to tasks that distract you from your purpose, or to postpone certain demands to preserve your productivity, shows maturity and professionalism. In addition, you begin to stand out for what really matters: results, efficiency, and emotional intelligence. What's more, by limiting interruptions and setting aside time for what really demands your attention, your performance improves. You start to deliver more value in less time, Being selective with your attention in the workplace is actually a sign of leadership, because leaders aren't the ones who do everything, but the ones who know what to do and what not to do. Number 6. The importance of setting aside time for yourself. Setting aside time for yourself is not a luxury, it is a necessity. In the midst of a fast-paced routine, where external demands pile up and expectations seem endless, many people forget their own existence. Living for others, whether at work, with family, or among friends, may seem noble, but it gradually empties your identity. When you don't set aside time for yourself, you lose touch with who you really are. Not always being available means, among other things, allowing yourself to stop, reflect, and breathe. It is in these moments of silence and solitude that you rebuild your energy, reorganize your thoughts, and align your actions with your real goals. It is also when you heal from emotional exhaustion and strengthen yourself for everyday challenges. Having time for yourself is essential for maintaining mental, physical, and emotional health. And we're not talking about big trips or expensive retreats. Sometimes 30 minutes of reading, a walk without your cell phone, writing in a notebook, or simply sitting in silence, looking at the sky, is enough to reconnect you with your essence. Those who don't set aside time for themselves live at the mercy of others. You end up reacting to everything and becoming a prisoner to other people's urgencies. Valuing your time is a silent declaration of self-love. And the most interesting thing is that the more you take care of yourself, the more value you bring to the world. Because only those who are at peace with themselves can be at peace with others. Number 7. How to implement this change in practice. Implementing the change of no longer being always available requires intention, discipline, and above all, courage. The first step is to become aware of how and with whom you are wasting your energy. Start by observing. How often do you say yes for fear of displeasing others? How many times do you interrupt your day to solve something that was not your responsibility? Once you have this insight, start setting clear boundaries. Saying no is not rude. It is self-respect. You can decline invitations, postpone responses, and avoid justifying every decision. A good practice is to set specific times to respond to messages and not feel guilty about not being online all the time. In the workplace, this may mean organizing your schedule with blocks of deep focus time, where notifications are turned off and distractions are avoided. At home, it may mean communicating to your family that you need moments of silence or rest. Another powerful change is to review your commitments. Ask yourself, is this aligned with what I want to build? If not, it may be time to let it go. It's also important to communicate your new stance firmly and respectfully. People may find it strange at first, but they will gradually understand that you are prioritizing yourself and that this does not make you selfish, but healthy. Start small, one boundary at a time. Over time, you will see how your life becomes lighter, more focused, and much more aligned with who you really are. When you stop being always available, everything changes, and changes for the better. You begin to regain your energy, focus, and sense of identity. People around you begin to respect you more, your relationships become more balanced, and your time takes on new value. Being less accessible does not mean being cold or selfish, but rather aware that you need to be well in order to offer your best to the world. Silence, absence, and boundaries are powerful tools for self-knowledge and emotional protection. By setting aside time for yourself and choosing carefully where and with whom to invest your presence, you take control of your own life. And that control does not come from an aggressive attitude, but from a firm, calm, and mature stance. True transformation begins when you understand that you don't have to be everywhere, for everyone, all the time. Prioritize your peace and watch the world around you reorganize itself. Only for the determined people who stayed until the end of this video, comment below, "I stayed until the end." That way, I'll know who really wants to take control of their life once and for all. Take care and see you in the next video.